You don't become a strategist by accident. You become one the moment you realize your life has been negotiated away by impulses you never once challenged. Every man thinks he's in control until he tries to deny himself the one thing he's addicted to the most. Lust is the silent ruler inside you, the unappointed king who signs treaties in your name, spends your energy like loose change, and leaves you wondering why your kingdom feels weak, scattered, and unstable. Machiavelli never wrote about semen retention directly, but his entire philosophy circles around one brutal truth. The man who cannot govern himself will be governed by everyone else. And most men walking around today are governed by the smallest trigger. A notification, a curve, a fantasy, a moment of boredom, a late-night craving. You've been conditioned to believe your desire is harmless. But once you begin the path of abstinence, you see the truth. Your desire has been your political enemy the entire time. You don't start semen retention because you want to feel holy. You start because you finally grasp how undisciplined you've been. You realize how many decisions in your life were made from a place of arousal instead of strategy. How many late-night texts, how many pointless conversations, how many women you didn't even genuinely like, all fueled by the need for release. If someone had shown you the footage of your own weakness, the way a general watches a battlefield replay, you would have been embarrassed. But that embarrassment is good. It's the flashpoint. It's the moment the prince inside you wakes up and snatches the crown back from your impulses. Because once you decide to withhold your own power, your seed, your energy, your drive, you begin a psychological transformation that most men will never taste. You stop operating from instinct and start operating from consciousness. Abstinence isn't the absence of sex. Abstinence is the presence of self-respect. It's the moment you tell your body, I am the ruler here, not you. That single act of refusal is where Machiavellian self-governance begins. And the first thing you notice is how loud lust actually was. You never realized it because you always fed it. But once you stop feeding it, you hear it clearly. It whines, it begs, it negotiates. It promises you relief if you just give in. That inner voice is the same voice that made empires collapse, not because sex is evil, but because the inability to restrain oneself is the gateway to self-destruction. When you deny it, you begin building the psychological muscle Machiavelli admired, the capacity to do what is necessary. Even when uncomfortable, great men are formed in the furnace of restraint. Retention forces you to see desire for what it really is, a political force inside your own kingdom. There's the instinct that wants chaos, the ego that wants validation, the ambition that wants greatness, and the higher self that wants order. When you're releasing constantly, instinct governs the throne. When you retain, that hierarchy rearranges. The higher self sharpens. Ambition grows. Teeth. Chaos loses influence. This is why your perception shifts. You start noticing manipulation instantly. You stop falling for cheap seduction. You begin to see the difference between what you want and what you're being baited to want. When Machiavelli said, "A prince must study the fox and the lion," he wasn't talking about animals. He was talking about instinct and intellect. Retention turns you into both, cunning enough to read situations, powerful enough to remain unmoved by them. And then something deeper happens, the redistribution of resources. When you stop spilling your seed, your system reorganizes itself. Your focus sharpens as if someone tightened the lens inside your mind. Your confidence becomes quieter, heavier, more grounded. Your ambition rises from a whisper to a command. Women notice the shift first, not because you're acting different, but because you're not acting thirsty. Your aura thickens, your presence steadies, your eyes hold longer. Men notice it too. They sense a pressure around you, a seriousness, a quiet fire. They don't know what changed, but they know something changed. That is the birth of the abstinent strategist, a man who is no longer driven by release, but by direction. The world doesn't respond to your pleasure. It responds to your control. When you withhold your seed, you're withdrawing your power from the open market. You're saying, my energy is not free anymore. And once you draw that boundary, lust stops being your master and becomes your soldier. The urges you used to obey now become the fuel you channel into projects, goals, discipline, and execution. You feel a primal aggression that doesn't explode. It sharpens. You feel a tension that doesn't distract. It directs. You feel a hunger that doesn't weaken. It strengthens. Becoming Indecepta is the code they never wanted you to learn. A psychological war map for men, forbidden teachings fused with modern strategy for influence, dominance, and self-mastery. If you want peace, prepare for war. By now you begin to understand why society encourages indulgence. Weak men are predictable. Weak men are easy to market to. Weak men are easy to control. But abstinent men are a threat because they break the system's grip on their psychology. They cannot be manipulated with images. They cannot be baited with attention. They cannot be seduced into mediocrity. They operate from a clarity that discomfort forged. They operate from a strength they had to earn. And every day you retain, that strength compounds. Most men will never experience this transformation because they don't want it bad enough. They preach discipline, but fold the moment lust whispers. They talk about legacy, but act like peasants with their energy. They want the results without the sacrifice. But you, once you walk this path, you become different. You become dangerous. You become deliberate. You become someone who uses desire, not someone who is destroyed by it. And that is why the abstinent strategist rises, not because he rejects pleasure, but because he refuses to let pleasure rule his kingdom. Once you've conquered the internal battlefield, the world outside doesn't look the same anymore. Every room you walk into has a different temperature. Every conversation carries a different weight. You start to see the invisible strings that pull people's behavior, the desperation in their eyes, the neediness in their posture, the way lust governs their decisions without them realizing it. Most men are puppets controlled by their reproductive urges. They think they're choosing women, but in reality, their desire is choosing for them. This is exactly why Machiavelli said that people are predictable, because they're driven by appetites that never change. But you, the abstinent strategist, have stepped outside that cycle. You've separated yourself from the hunger that blinds everyone else. And now, desire becomes a source of leverage, not over you, but for you. When you're not ruled by lust, you stop negotiating from weakness. You stop approaching situations like a starving man begging for food. You walk into interactions with no void to fill, no thirst to quench, no validation to chase. That changes everything. Women feel it instantly, the absence of need. You don't give off the energy of a man hoping to be chosen. You give off the energy of a man who chooses. And when you treat your seed as something valuable, they treat you as something valuable. The dynamic reverses. Instead of you trying to impress them, they find themselves trying to decipher you. Instead of you chasing, they wonder why you're not. This isn't manipulation, it's power redistribution. Lust is the modern world's currency, and you're one of the few men not spending it recklessly. That alone creates advantage. Your energy becomes asymmetrical. Lust-driven men operate from depletion. You operate from surplus. Their minds are foggy with fantasies. Yours is sharp with intention. They speak from impulse. You speak from clarity. They cling. You choose. This distance between hunger and control creates the psychological aura Machiavelli praised in great leaders. The aura of a man who is unmoved, and in a world where everyone is pulled by dopamine currents, your stillness becomes a threat. Your calmness reads as confidence. Your slowness reads as authority. Your restraint reads as power. People project strength onto the man who doesn't fold to his own instincts. This is when you begin to notice something profound. The less you need from others, the more influence you naturally carry. It's not that you're trying to dominate anyone. It's simply that most people are conditioned to follow the strongest emotional presence in the room. And emotional strength isn't loud, it's silent. It's the man who doesn't flinch. It's the man who doesn't chase. It's the man who could take something but decides not to. Women read that restraint as rare, men read it as dangerous. The world reads it as superiority. Without saying a word, you begin to command more respect than you ever demanded. Retention sharpens your social intuition in ways you can't fake. Your mind stops obsessing over how you look, what people think, who's watching you. That mental bandwidth returns to you. Suddenly, you're noticing the subtleties in people's tone, the micro expressions in their faces, the cracks in their confidence, the motives behind their questions. You read the battlefield like a general surveying a map. You see who's authentic and who's masking insecurity. You spot manipulation before it happens. You feel intentions without needing confirmation. Sexual energy that once scattered you now sharpens you. What used to distract you now reveals the truth in people. And here's the part Machiavelli would appreciate most. When you're not governed by desire, you can influence those who are. Not through deceit, but through leverage. Lust is a predictable force in others, and prediction is power. Men addicted to release can be steered. Women addicted to validation can be calmed. People whose self-worth depends on sexual attention can be positioned. You don't abuse this power, you simply understand it. You navigate it like a strategist, not a slave. You choose where to invest your time. You choose who earns access to your presence. You choose how your energy circulates. Your seed becomes an asset you deploy with intention, not an accident you regret. Eventually, the transformation becomes too obvious to deny. Your presence changes the way people act. Your clarity intimidates. Your discipline unsettles. Your steadiness creates gravity. You're no longer playing the same game. The world runs on temptation. You run on mission. The world reacts. You respond. The world is weakened by desire. You're strengthened by mastery over it. This is why the abstinent strategist becomes untouchable. He understands the battlefield from both sides. He knows the cost of indulgence and the power of restraint. He knows how easily a man can be conquered by his own body, and how powerful he becomes when he conquers it himself. But the greatest advantage isn't external. It's the cold mind you develop. The mind that can see through illusions, remain calm in chaos, and stay disciplined in storms. This is the masculine energy the modern world is starving for. A man anchored, sovereign, controlled. Not because he suppresses desire, but because he directs it. Not because he rejects pleasure, but because he refuses to be ruled by it. This is the psychology Machiavelli hinted at. The unwavering prince, the deliberate ruler, the man whose self-mastery becomes his throne. And here is your final truth. Power accumulates where pleasure is denied. Not forever, but long enough to build something worth releasing, for your seed was never the enemy. Your indulgence was. Now your energy is no longer scattered across impulses. It is weaponized, concentrated, aimed. You have become a strategist, not because you escaped desire, but because you learned to stand above it. Thus remember, we are Indecepta. The Indecepta archive is the complete vault. Every lesson, every revelation, every psychological blueprint I've ever recorded, handcrafted to help you break chains, build discipline, and become undefeatable in a world built to deceive men. No ads, no algorithms, no distractions.